Warm greetings all, and happy Independence Day to all you Americans, whether at home or abroad. How to remain a Christian while becoming the best version of yourself? Well, your past. As a Christian, you believe that you were born a sinner, however, that God has forgiven you. As well, you have a maxim in the Bible that says you must also forgive others. So you can continue to subscribe to these in part and parcel of continuing to practice your Christianity. To become the best version of yourself, recognize that dwelling on the past is a waste of your existential reality. You are not living when you do that, but instead wasting your life, given the past is already gone and you can no longer do anything about it. It is memory, old. You cannot create a single thing with memory. Notwithstanding, there is a concept that I want to clarify for you with your kind permission. And it is the word conscience. It is a religious concept having to do with morality. In other words, moral conscience, being a sense of that which is right and wrong. Each individual has his or her own sense of that which is right and or wrong, as well as what is either good or bad. However, the code of conduct is devised by religion, by the scheme, not God the creator of the universe. For God created everything good. That's what it says in Genesis. Therefore, God, and for bad was added out of convenience so people can discriminate, giving themselves a license then to exploit and destroy. So they call, the earth dirt. They call this created universe that God has made, you know, calling for want of a better place. So they discriminate against this created universe. They call the tree firewood out of convenience. So if you were only seeing 10, you don't really need, uh, uh, similarly, to use this thing about purpose. You know, in the same vein, for having a purpose to become the judge. So you don't need a conscience, really. You already have your consciousness and awareness. To become fully conscious, it doesn't take striving. You simply need to turn up the voltage. If you were only seeing 10% of what exists in a given space or room, insufficiently turning up the voltage, you will then see 100% to where you don't even need to focus. You only have to pay keen, undivided attention. So what to you do as a human being is always keep your humanity lit. When you are governed by your spirit, you'll always know the appropriate thing to do. For that's what it boils down to, making choices. Your karma is based on the choices that you make. So you must live your life with the maxim that you are not free to do as you please. No, that's not freedom. That's compulsive thought and behavior. You must instead exercise freedom by always making the prudent choices instead of thinking from your boundary setting reptilian brain, and are about self-preservation. You need to instead realize that God is one and that the universe is one energy. So you need to think universal always. Think universal. Keep your humanity lit always. You can only say that you have your own body in mind. However, no one can claim to have his or her own life, for life is a shared commodity, shared with all other living creatures and things. So always keep your humanity lit and see people as forming part of yourself, which is the way life is. People draw distinctions when they want to be one up on everyone else. That's when they say this is me and this is mine and that is you and that is yours, giving themselves the lion's share. We came into the world with nothing and will leave with nothing. All that we really have, therefore, is life. Therefore, live life with full intensity. intense, not tense. Not being bogged down with the past, including reminiscing about your great great grandmother. Uh, life, live out your three score and ten with full intensity by exploring life and creating memorable experiences. As for your future, hold on to belief in heaven, if you will, and all that stuff. Face it, it is it is making assumptions with which you draw conclusions in order to give yourself confidence. However, confidence without clarity. In drawing conclusions, you are slamming the door on your intellect, which wants to know. Your intellect wants to know, not believe. You're slamming the door on the awesome possibility of knowing, going against your very Bible scripture, which says to seek in order to find. Life is an expedition, and your intellect is your tool for exploration. So, if you anchor, how can you set sail? And unless you set sail, how can you explore and know the nature of your existence? When a person dies, that the ability to make choices, discretionary ability to use your discretion, make decision, all that stops, you know. So the only memory a dead person carries is the last, remembering whether he, she died willingly, peacefully, and joyfully, or prematurely, i.e., at the hands of a murderer, and so on. In, in, in which cases the deceased may have difficulty resting in peace. The long and short is that becoming preoccupied with what may or may not happen in the future is also a waste of time, which is your existential reality, your present. So, as a Christian, recognize that the only thing that really matters is how you live in the present, that you ensure that each day you are becoming a better and better version of yourself, and to do so, you can ill afford to discriminate. For God is impartial, God is one, and the universe is one energy. You discriminate whenever you say, I like this, but I don't like that. I'm a morning person, but not a night person. You know, you need to be flexible. I don't um, 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 God created everything good. God created everything. Therefore, be spiritual. For in the spirit realm, there are no boundaries. There are only boundaries here in physicality. There is no discrimination in the spirit realm. No male or female, i.e., no rank and file. In the spirit realm, as an individual, you should neither look up to anyone nor look down on anyone. Instead, you must see people just the way they are, through a plain mirror. For God is real, and so is life. In looking up, you overcompensate and you fail to see the person's truth and reality. If you look down, then you're discriminating. You're writing the person off when, as long as a person lives, there's always the awesome possibility of transformation, and he, she becomes the very best version of him or herself. The important thing is not to belong to a sect, an organization. You can associate. You should associate with all without discriminating. For God created all. All the 8.3 billion people populating the earth. They are all God breed, all children of God. Therefore, associate with all without getting entangled. The only place where it is appropriate to discriminate is in your bedroom and bathroom, where it has to do with intimate touching. So, neither live in the past nor become preoccupied with the future. Live, for all you have is life. Your three score and ten, or if God allows, you get extra. But be out there making memorable experience with that, using consciously your freedom to do what's right, not only for yourself but for everyone else. Live with full intensity as if today were going to be your last day. Keep your humanity lit, for in so doing, you always have integrity. Integrity is wanting for others the same thing you want for yourself. Their well-being, nothing more, nothing less. Making expression over, no. If you choose to make expression over perception, then you're making a mistake. Prayer is good for making supplication, giving praise and thanksgiving. Otherwise, grow in perception. Choose growth in perception over making expression. To do so, you need to journey inside yourself. Do inner engineering. Delve into meditation. Meditation is a way of being, not an act. Therefore, establish altars, consecrated spaces within yourself, in and inside your home, your neighborhood, where you work, your yard. Establish a consecrated space inside yourself, within yourself, with an altar wherein you remain meditative 24/7. So, yeah, so you're continually growing in perception. That will be all. Much obliged to all of you. Have a good one.